PJ, thank you so much for your time. We have a couple events to talk through. One is the executive retreat, and then the other is the board retreat. To kick things off, the executive retreat, what was the executive team dealing with before the retreat began?
Well, we had some new executive team members, so we really needed to get the team all on the same page. We wanted to be very aligned strategically. There were definitely some strategic priorities that we needed to put in place in a way that we were in line with our SP 3.0 that the board has approved for us to do, that we are in our second year of now. And in order to ensure that we were meeting those goals, we needed to make sure that we were all in alignment the way we needed to. We needed to be to absolutely achieve those goals. But then I think as individuals and as a team, we wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page and all being able to work effectively together. And the executive retreat really gave us that opportunity to do that and really helped us better understand what our priorities were and then how we could help one another meet them.
After the retreat, what results and value did you see come from it?
So again, we did definitely come up with what those strategic priorities look like, how we could work better together. We have been able to, on a consistent basis, and are still doing, each executive is reporting out kind of on action items that we determined during the retreat. So it's really helped keep us on track and to really ensure that alignment so that going forward, we've been able to make sure that we didn't just have lots of great discussions and then not do anything with them. The plan that you put in place has really helped us to make sure that we are taking the necessary steps and really moving things forward and making that progress that we had wanted to make. So it's all been very positive.
I'm so glad to hear it's still continuing to this day. And it's something to say you want to do something, but to follow through is really the main point. And then what advice would you have for anyone considering putting on an executive retreat like the one that we did?
Be prepared for transformation. Be prepared to really identify what it is you need to do yourself, but then as a team, what makes the most sense. And I think that the way you go about doing it really helped us to identify the areas that we needed to be focused on and helped kind of cut through all of the noise, helped us to really understand what we needed to do and then come up with a plan of how to get there, and then ensured that we did take those next steps to do that. Because a lot of times you go on an executive retreat and you have great discussions, you talk about wonderful things, and then it just kind of the next month or so you get back to work and it's kind of forgotten. You've really ensured that not only do we know what it is we need to do, but that we are being held accountable. And I think that accountability is really important. And you did it in a very supportive and positive way that I think everybody felt unbelievably energized leaving the retreat. And it was something that we remembered fondly, those discussions and what we were doing, but then we also had tools and resources that helped us to make sure that we continued with that progress, and it helped us really determine what those next steps look like and how we could achieve those goals that we set.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you, PJ. The feeling is mutual. I also look back on those conversations fondly, and I'm even more excited to hear that you all are continuing the good work. So thank you. That's the executive retreat conversation. Moving to the board retreat. What were the executive team members and board retreat team members, what were they dealing with before that event began?
So prior to that event, there was a lot of pre-work that needed to be done. And I think this year was different than a lot of our other years because we really wanted to make sure that we left with very specific guidance in certain areas once the board helped us identify what those areas were. So there was a lot of pre-reads that needed to be done, identifying what made the most sense. I think that you were integral, your support in helping us to kind of determine what made the most sense and what a board member was going to have time to read and what they were going to be able to take away from that. Making sure that we were really prepared on the day, knowing that there were going to be things that came up that we weren't expecting, and to just be able to kind of move through that, but to really walk in there with a good feeling of knowing what it was we wanted to accomplish. And then at the end of the day, having the board say that they absolutely felt like it was a successful day and that we were able to accomplish and identify what our those priorities were going to be for us moving forward. And because these planning days are really important for us to be able to do that and then be able to communicate that to staff. And, you know, throughout the process, we were thinking a few steps ahead each time of what do we need to make sure we're doing. And that communication to staff was great and was something that we were already prepared and we're already working on.
I think you answered my next question, which is what results or value did you get? And the fact that the board thought it was success, I think, is the ultimate result there. Any other results or value you feel that you and the team received?
Well, I think that whenever you're working with especially such a large board like we had, you never know how they're going to receive the information that you're providing to them. And are you going to get the outcomes that you're looking for? Are you going to be able to walk away with actionable items that we can take and bring back to the staff to put in place? And I feel like we were able to do that because we did so much prep on the front end. And at times it was a lot to try to figure out what made the most sense and do we have the right information for them, but also taking into account that it is a board who have other jobs and balancing what you were presenting to them on the day and how that presentation took that into account. So maybe they didn't have a chance to read all of the pre-reads, but identifying ways where we could ensure that the board, and we had a lot of really great feedback on how they enjoyed the breakout groups and an opportunity to talk in smaller groups and then come back and talk in the larger groups. It gave us as an organization and as an executive team much more to walk away with. We received a lot more individual feedback, whereas in a larger group, it's much harder to get a lot of that. So in the smaller groups, we're able to do that. And you kept it energized. You kept people active. Then, you know, they had an opportunity to provide us additional information using, you know, the Post-it notes. We came up with, you had identified a lot of different ways where we could achieve the same results, but do it in a way where people felt like it was a really exciting and positive environment to do that in, versus us just sitting there and asking questions and it just being kind of unengaging. We really had a very engaged experience.
And that's the goal of all of our retreats, is to make sure that they're fun and full of energy. And I'm so glad that's what you got out of it. My last question, PJ, is what advice would you have for anyone considering doing a board retreat the way that we did it? Like you said, it's a little different. And what advice do you have for people?
To be open-minded about it, to know that you've done this enough times that you know what you're doing, because you absolutely do, that your energy transfers to them, that people really do leave feeling energized and feeling engaged and collaborative in an environment where, you know, board retreats can be not as exciting and not as interesting, but I feel like whether you know, it's the board retreat or the executive retreat, anything that we've done with you, I think people walk away really feeling good about the discussions that they had, that they were rich and valuable, simply because of the way you've structured it. And you structure it in a way that helps the organization to identify exactly what it is they need and how we're going to go about getting those outcomes and ensuring that we do. And those that are participating, that they feel that they've achieved what they wanted to throughout that process. I think you do a really good job of balancing that to ensure that everybody walks away with what it is that they wanted to go in, you know, what they wanted to achieve, which is really important, because you're taking someone away from the office as it is, but you're also having them go back with so much more that they're going to be able to work with long term.
Thank you, PJ. Appreciate your time. This is extremely valuable to hear, just to know that it landed. Sometimes you go through these things, you're not quite sure if everyone really resonated with the approach, but it sounds like it worked.
Definitely.
Thank you, PJ.
Thank you, Jenny.